Hello, Chef Marcus Guiliano here, and I'm your chef on a mission. I have a very special guest today with me. It's her first time on my channel, but it's not going to be the last time she's on my channel. And she's starting her channel up. And Lavinia and I do a lot of collaborations together. She has a great psychology background. And when we collaborate, we do some really cool stuff. So this is our first video collaboration. So hello, Lavinia.
Hello.
And Lavinia is in Romania. She speaks great English, but she has a great accent as well. So that's where she's from, calling in from. So Lavinia, I really respect your psychology background because it helps me out a lot. And basically, we're going to sort of recreate a conversation that we had because you're the outsider looking in at my business a lot of times. And when I say something to you like this is wrong, that's wrong, or something you quickly turn it around on me. I'm like, wow, this is so powerful and so beneficial that we need to share this with my audience. So, look, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Lavinia. I'm from Romania. As Marcus said, and I appreciate for your words, your kind words. I don't have a psychology background. I graduated and I've been studying for 3 years, and also at the same time I've been obsessed with personal development, and I've been to a lot of courses. I read a lot of books in that field, and it's very easy. It's easier for somebody who's outside in a situation to evaluate it better. So
It is. I'm always impressed with how many books you've read. I mean, the list is staggering because I love books, and my old office had books all behind me. The books are over here now in two different shelves. There's a lot of books, and when you talk about books, like you've read most of these books that I know and speak about, and then you turn me on to other books, which is fantastic. So your knowledge and your depth of understanding is fantastic. So. Let's talk about employees because that's the toughest thing in the restaurant business. And you've worked in the restaurant business.
yes,
You've been to America and you've worked in the restaurant business, and you've seen a lot of different levels from concierge to you've even worked in the kitchen.
yes, I did.
So you're well versed on restaurants and hospitality and hotels. So the biggest challenge for me is my staff. And any restaurateur will tell you it's your staff, it's your staff, it's your staff. And it's our biggest expense. It's bigger than my mortgage. It's staggering how much more it is than my other expenses. And if you mismanage your staff, it can get even more costly. And if you cut labor and you cut service, then you cut your revenue because you don't make people happy that are coming to give you money. So I was complaining the other day to you about a certain employee that I was having a tough time with, and you gave me some great advice. So he cooked French fries that the French fries were not good. French fries were not good. They were soggy. There's something else wrong with the meal. And this is at another site that I managed a kitchen at. It wasn't at my restaurant. There's another site. It was burgers. The burger buns weren't good. The majority of the burger buns weren't good. The majority of the fries weren't good. So I kind of laid into them, and I brought this information back to you, and I was frustrated. And what did you tell me? What was the advice you gave me?
Well, I told you that you should focus on something that he is doing well, because having that negativity wouldn't help in this situation, in any situation. So, the best thing in this kind of situation is to just find if that guy cooked one single fry that was good cooked. You just say to look, this is what I like. I like how you did this. You should do more of this. So
And there was a couple good fries in the batch of the pan that was there. So a little bit of history on this guy. He's worked for me for 2 years. I've noticed his performance going down the last month or so, and he admits it. And I've been harder and harder and harder and harder on him because I'm expecting more, or I'm just expecting what he was doing in the past. But I really like your approach, and what you did to me was you like cross questioned me. You questioned me. Well, why did you hire him? And you got down to like the nitty-gritty. Like, why did you hire him? And tell me something good about him. So I started offering some characteristics like, well, he's very humble. He's willing to work. He works really hard. He never stops working. He runs. So I listed all these qualities, and you were like, and what did you tell me about those qualities?
Well, those are soft skills, and it's very hard to find somebody that is reliable and is humble, and somebody will like every time will agree with you. And when it comes to employees, you need to kind of see because if they're your employees, you hire them. So in order for you to hire them, they must have some qualities that you appreciated. And if they did well a certain period of time, or they were working, they were okay at the beginning, that means they are on their. You cannot know for sure what they are going through a period of time, what's going on in their lives or whatever, that their performance is low. So in that kind of situations, when their performance are lower from the beginning, you need kind of to encourage them and to point out the things that they're doing okay. And also, it's very important to see if that person's been like that from the beginning. So, and that means it's you're losing money with that because maybe the interview wasn't he lied on the interview or whatever wasn't okay, and it's a permanent pattern, or it's just a period of time. Because if it's just a period of time where they started to do things bad, we need you as a business owner, as a leader, you need to help them overcome that period and even become better.
So I've been a boss for over 20 years. At 24, 25 years old, I was an executive chef at a restaurant, and they promoted to executive food director right away. And I was overseeing 30 people at a very young age, my mid-20s. So I've been a boss for 20 years. And, and I'm still always trying to improve my skills being a boss, because I understand that my employees, without my employees, I'm not much. Now, my biggest downfall is I'm a trained chef, and I came from the background of those tyrant chefs that would abuse you verbally and even physically. I even worked in a kitchen where if you weren't working fast enough, he would walk behind you. The chef, and this was Pierre Kaufman at La Claire in London, Michelin 3-star restaurant at the time. He trained Gordon Ramsay. Marco Pierre White worked for him, showed up and worked for him at a young age. So he's trained some really world-class chefs through his Michelin 3-star restaurant. But if you weren't working quick enough, he would take his fingernails and he would walk behind you and just pinch you on the back of your leg. And it would make you jump, and it hurt. Or he would take his butcher's fork that he always had in his hand and just sort of stick you in your leg a little bit. It's like, get moving, move quicker, move quicker. He wasn't really a yeller, but that's what he did. When he was walking, you were like, where is he, where is he? So, and I worked at other places where it was all fear-based management. If you weren't doing your job, you got yelled at and screamed at and belittled in front of every other single employee in the kitchen. One chef would take not me, but another person, and take him out to the back dock and just scream and yell at him at one of the big resorts I worked at. And working with all these other celebrity chefs, I used to do a guest chef series at the Greenbrier, and you would get some of these chefs in that were just irate, screaming, yelling, throwing things, slamming their hands down. My food is delicate, you effing idiot, this and that, to people. And you have people like Andre Saltner and Dean Faring that would come in and just like, they would just inspire you, and they were just personable and talk to you. And so I kind of saw all these management things, like all the different types. But the majority of mine was fear-based. I worked under fear-based management. That's how they motivated, and not. There's certain people that might work under fear-based management. There's not many people nowadays. Not many people really work under fear-based management at all. So I really like the thing about pointing things out that are going well with an employee. Maybe you can sort of explain the psychology behind emphasizing the positives and just behavior to begin with.
Yes. Well, we are in 2018 and things are evolving a lot. And I know that at the beginning, a lot of companies, they had fear-based management, not only in the kitchen. And the kitchen environment, it's already a very stressful environment. And it has to be a very, very strong and powerful person in order to keep up with everything that's going on there. But the society and everything, all the things have changed, and everything is trying to accommodate the people is trying to accommodate us, and will never ever somebody function on just fear based. Um, of course, it's very important to educate people and to let them know if it's something that they didn't do okay, so they will know what do they need to improve. But in the same time, it's very important to help them grow and improve the qualities that they already have. So it is called Pygmalion effect. It's been studied in a Mexican school in the United States, and the discovery was people was of course was in a school, and the kids received an IQ test, and the results were randomly assigned to some kids, and the researchers went to the teachers and said, "Look, these are the smartest kids in the class. Confirm our results." But those kids were just randomly taken. At the end of the year, they noticed that those kids, their performance was a lot better. So they discovered in this research that people are actually performing to fulfill our expectations towards them.
I like that. People are performing to fulfill our expectations of them, right? And the
Yes,
expectations that we put on our employees or our spouses or our
yes,
kids
kids,
or our parents and our friends, this is all influenced by what we're expecting.
yes. Because because as a leader, as a boss, and whatever parent or you have to find something good in every situation and something good in every person, and help it develop that good part, and grow it. And also, what you focus on the most grows. So when you put out that negative energy, you have to ask yourself, is that these are the results that I want to receive in my business? Because it's impossible to put energy out there and to receive a positive outcome. So
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. You've taught me to take 100% responsibility for my business, which is another whole video in itself. And I'm going to write a Forbes article on that because I think every entrepreneur needs to know that you need to take 100% responsibility. If something's going wrong, it's your fault. It's ultimately your fault. You have a chance to fix it in the right way. So you cross questioned me about this employee. And I was having problems with another employee too. And I sat down with both employees, but I sat down with the first one with the French fries. And you know what? And I should have gone to him, picked the best French fry, and said, "These are great. This is a great French fry. Let's make the whole batch look like this." Instead of saying your French fries basically suck and not so many words. Um, so now, now by no means am I perfect at this, and this is why I appreciate learning at any stage of the game. So I sat down with this employee a couple days later, and I said, I know I've been hard on you, and he goes, "You've had every right to be." He goes, "I have been screwing up," and I said, "Well, this is going to be a positive conversation, and we're going to talk about why you're here and why I like you and what you do for me." So I listed off all these attributes, and I said, "You're humble, and that's great because not many people are humble like you." And he goes, "I would never argue with you, Marcus. I would never do that." And he goes, "I made a commitment to you, and I'm going to fulfill that commitment." And it was just like a great conversation of what he's doing right and why I hired him and why he's done great in the past. And and now he's on fire. Now he's just
yeah,
like, it's just he knows that my expectation of him is different. He's still going to screw up, right? It's still going to happen. But I have to now remember to focus on what he's doing good and keep focusing on that. And restaurateurs, especially chefs, they lead by pointing out what's wrong with people. Um, Certain restaurants I know in my mastermind group, they have one restaurant in particular, they have a caught doing right board. So every time somebody does something right, a post-it note gets written, a thank you, whatever, and gets put on a board. And then we've done that at certain points where then you take all those post-it notes and you stick it on their paycheck. So when they get their paycheck, it's like, "Oh wow, so and so said this about so and so said this." Now we do it virtually on Facebook, and we do in our meetings. We have to give what's called an "Oh snap" to somebody on staff, meaning that, okay, you did this and this and we appreciate it. So us as managers do it and owners, but then my staff has to do it with each other as well. So the other staff knows that, hey, we work well together and this is what I liked about you and this is what you did very specifically for me on Thursday night. I appreciate how you helped me out with this, this, and that, or that. So I appreciate you being on time all the time, things like that. So 2018, we must get to a reward-based management style system. Our workforce has changed drastically, really drastically, and maybe some of the even some of the older people in the workforce have changed and really just don't care about giving 2 weeks notice anymore and screw you and this and that and I'm gone. And before you had people years and years ago that valued their job and this was their job and and they stuck through with it, but that mentality is gone a lot of times now. There are some younger people that have that mentality and that are fantastic employees. And I think we have to realize that not every employee is worth saving.
Yeah. So I think yes, that's true. Not every employee is worth saving, but actually everything till the end, everything is about numbers, right? Either because I had the opportunity to talk with some psychologists that are working in corporation companies, and every solution that they will bring to the management, everything will be about numbers. So they had to translate the benefits that they will receive in numbers. And it totally makes sense, because if you're acting like that, that means to be a smart, a good leader, a good restaurant owner, and grow your business in this way. Because if you are getting this kind of results and you manage to keep the people in your business and they make them motivate, make them grow, make them do a good job, that's an incredible benefit for your business, and you're not wasting time looking for more people or people complaining, because if your employees are happy, your guests are happy as well.
That's an extremely important point. And a lot of restaurateurs, especially my mastermind group, and what I teach my students in coaching is that you have to take care of your employees as much as as good as you take care of your staff, because they're the ones taking care of your guests. So your guests, I kind of said that wrong. You have to take care of your staff and your employees as good as you take care of your guests, because they're ultimately taking care of your guests. A lot of restaurateurs now live by that. And that's a more common philosophy among restaurant owners, that you're putting staff out on the front line, and again, take responsibility for everybody. And if you hired the wrong person, put them in a different position, or simply have a conversation with them and say, this isn't working out. This wasn't what I was expecting. Maybe I interviewed you wrong. Maybe I was expecting something different from you. Don't say, oh, well, you lied on your resume, or I was just expecting something different. And you said an important thing. How does it make you feel? So in conflict resolution, just talk about that briefly.
Well, when you're talking with somebody and let's say this situation, you don't like that somebody didn't tell you, like came late at work or didn't tell you something. Or let's say an employee comes at work late. You have to tell him, well, I don't like when this happens, when somebody comes late at work, not you. I don't like when this happens, because it makes me feel stressed about the situation itself in the restaurant. And the very important at the end is to point out what would you expect for that person in the future. It has to be very clear, specified. So you need to tell them, I will appreciate if in the future you will come up exactly on time. So that's easy, that's simple. And also, when you're trying to make an observation to somebody and pointing out about something that they did wrong, is you have to start with something positive. You need to make a sandwich. So you need to start with something positive, something like, I appreciate that you are very reliable, you're always coming on time, but sometimes, or it happens, or lately, your food, you didn't cook, your food wasn't great, or something. It has to be something temporary and something that can be changed. It doesn't have to be a personality trait. So if you're telling somebody you're not too smart, that's probably something that you cannot just change it. You're not, you know.
Right.
So it has to be something temporary, not a personality trait. Like sometimes lately you're not cooking the food that well, and at the end, it's very important to put a positive expectation in the future. So you need to tell them. But I know that if you're working on it, or if you're working together, or if you concentrate, you'll have great results in the future.
Excellent. That's
So,
great. So I sat down with another employee as well that we were having issues with, and I walked into my kitchen on Sunday night, and I had to jump in because they were super busy and food was taking a long time, and I sat down to this with an employee, and I said, you know what, because she was having issues and she might not want to come back to work, and so I just let her, go home and take a day off and come back, and I spoke to her, and I said, you know what, I said, I walked into the kitchen on Sunday night, and I said, it's in mayhem. I jump on the line, the floor's a mess, there's stuff. I mean, I'm like, but I look over at your station is immaculate. You're wiping it down, everything's super neat. And I said, if every employee just did what you did, your station was amazingly neat and organized. I love that about you, right? So that was a positive. But then I threw on it, I said, but that's also your downfall because you expect other people to be like that and they're not. And when people come to your station to grab something, they don't do what you would do, and they're not gonna, they might make a mess. A cheese might get in something else, in the lettuce or something. And I said, but that's your downfall, and you let that affect you a lot. And I said, believe me, I'm the same way as you, and I like things organized, and I feel good when it's like that. But if I looked around my kitchen at everybody else in their mayhem, I'd be upset. I would be angry and miserable, and it would affect my performance. And I don't want that to affect your performance anymore. So how can we work together to make sure that you don't do that, right? We're a team now. And she goes, honestly, you've done as much as you possibly can for me. You're one of the best bosses I've ever had to sit down with me and talk to me about this, that. She goes, I will do better.
yeah.
So
Just a few words, very small, you receive this kind of result for an employee, which is incredible. Just by switching a few words, just by saying, because it doesn't hurt just to say, just being smarter about this situation. And this happens when you're taking responsibility, as you said, because if you feel responsible for your employees' performance, it's not their fault that they are not performing well. It's your responsibility as a leader to make them and motivate them and inspire them to do the job work, because everybody has a good part. Like everybody has a good part. As a leader, as a business owner, we just need to discover that good part and make it grow. And the best thing about it, if you are feeling responsible about the situation, you have control over it. So that's the best thing ever. Because if you're saying it's that employee's fault because that employee is like that, you have no control over it. And that's really stressful because you feel like the situation is bad and I can't do anything because it's his fault. When I'm saying it's my responsibility, the solutions are coming because now you have the power and the control to change it. And it's very important to have the knowledge to change it. So are just little things that will make huge results and huge improvements.
I totally agree. So to follow up with her, what led me to this conversation with her, I was going to have this conversation anyway, was, she's been snippy and moody and, lashing out at other staff members. And she even texted me the day before, I can't take the work environment anymore. And it was basically quitting. And I knew having a conversation, the right conversation with her would bring her back around, and she's a great employee. So why not try to bring her back around? But communication is key, and we'll talk about communication in other videos with staff, because you need to have constant communication with them, and not reviews, but just constant communication with, sit down, hey, just tell me about what's going on, right? What's happening with you, and this and that, and this is what I like about it, and this and that, and whatever. Just have a conversation.
Well, people need to be listened to. Imagine that some people are spending 8-10 hours of their day at work. Of course, you cannot survive in a work environment where you feel stressed and you feel like nobody will understand you. And when you're really listening to people, just listening, just ask them, how is your day, how are you doing, how's your daughter, how is your dog feeling, or whatever.
Right.
They will feel listened to and they will feel understood and they will be happy come in that kind of environment because we need that.
So I remember working at the Broadmoor. One of the area chefs gave notice. He worked there for 20 years, and he gave notice, and he goes, I gave notice. I've been here for my 2 weeks. I'm getting ready to leave. And he goes, the executive chef never once asked me where I was going, what I was doing, wished me luck, thanked me for 20 years of service here. Not once did he say. And he goes, in fact, when I worked here for all those years, never once did he ever have a conversation about my family, my wife. None of that was. It was like just totally, strictly, 100% business, and that's the relationship. Nothing personal. Not saying get personal at work, but nothing ever to break that barrier and say we're just humans here and we're at work, and let's just know that hey, what else is going on in our lives to a certain extent, right? And that was the one thing. And as a young chef, I must have been 19, 20 years old. That stood out to me. I was like, wow, 20 years of service, and you've never had a legitimate conversation with your boss, and he didn't wish you good luck when you were leaving.
Yeah. And that's a misunderstanding because those bosses, they think they're focusing on business. And they have no time for this kind of conversation because they are focusing on performance and numbers and anything, but they don't realize that asking somebody about their dog is part of the business because that person will perform better, will feel better, and will bring better results, and your business will grow. So that's the kind of mentality. So if you're really focusing on business, you need to focus on people.
Yes,
So
absolutely. That's part of the business. So, Lavinia, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing this educational video with me. Very educational because this is, like I said, the number one problem of restaurants is our staff.
yes,
So we'll do some more. We'll
sometimes
just
it's very stressful. Even if you're front house, you have to deal with the guests, or in the kitchen, you have to deal with the guests as well, or with the servers. Everything is very stressful, and it's a moving environment. It's changing, so you have to be has to have a strong personality to face this kind of situations. But we also need a little help.
yes. Well, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Oh, how can people get a hold of you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, Lavinia13.
Lavinia13. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Yes.